Grimes County Annex Building 114, West Buffington Avenue, Anderson, Texas, at which time we are going to discuss and review services provided by Vanner
Yes.
Construction Management. So with that, we're going to turn the show over to you folks and let us, because we've hired your company to kind of do a bit of a, I'm going to call it a peer review, if you will, of what has been offered by our architect and our engineering firm. We have initiated a contract with a contractor, Collier Construction. Don't know if you're familiar with those folks or not, but from what we understand, they have a good reputation, a very good reputation, and they came in at the right bid, but we're always seeing if we can improve, and that's why we've hired your services. So if I can get you to come to the podium, introduce yourself one more time for the world out there that is going to watch this video over the holidays because they don't have anything else to do. But
Thank you, sir.
thank you, Al.
Thanks, Al.
I'm glad I wore my suit like my wife told me to. Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Ron Roberts. I'm a project director with Vanner. We're a construction management firm. Our office that we're out of is Houston. We have offices in Dallas. We have offices in Sacramento. We have offices in New Orleans. We have offices a lot on the West Coast, Boston. But we're the Houston office and we're the best. So, my contemporary joining me today is Jaime Escobar. Jaime is a senior project manager. Jaime is the person that who's been helping me review the documents. He's climbed into them. He's gone over every page. We talked about going over every page. Jaime is the every page guy, and I'm the every page guy.
So Jaime doesn't have a life either, huh?
What we enjoy what we do, and it's
Okay.
not like going to work. It's almost like just having a vacation. Almost.
Almost.
Yes. So I just wanted to give you guys a heads up of what's going on, and what we really want to do is to understand what your timeline is, when you want these things, what you want us to deliver. We know what's included in our agreement, and we're doing that as well. But from a timeline standpoint, so to be short, the construction documents are currently under review. Once we got the contract, we jumped right in right away. Jaime's been all over the documents, broken apart. All of our, I'm also reading our front ends, and Jaime's looking at the submittals and the specification as well. What we like to say up front is that we haven't seen any glaring issues so far. So I think you guys have made some great decisions, whether we all agree about the decisions that were made or not, like the carpet or the hard flooring. You guys have, the documents are pretty good. We haven't seen anything yet. We saw some small things like some piping sizes.
Yeah, just coordination between when the plumbing leaks and it goes to the utility system, the storm drain. So
Okay.
typical things that somebody maybe did not coordinate as well.
All right.
Okay.
We've got a massive, in addition to document review, we have a massive constructability checklist that Jaime's going through and our standard deliverable procedures. We go through every page, we go through every division, we go through every document. And what we also want to do is so that you feel, because you should feel good about what you do, you should feel good about what you're doing, all right? And this is something that's going to last the county for quite a bit of time, so you should be happy about this, what you're doing. We also want to go through, and we're going through these documents, we're looking at some of the pros of these documents as well, some of the things that are great.
Sure.
You know, like the roofing is a great system, the layouts are pretty cool. And so we're going over some things, and we're looking at things, for example, we switched, there's like a propane.
Propane genset used to be a electrical generator. Now we have a specification for a propane generator. So I'm guessing that if you're gonna have like a propane tank,
Yes,
you might wanna look also at having a mechanical system with gas maybe, not because you're gonna have the propane, maybe that's better for the project.
But for the project, better for this region, and we want to go through those things like that as well. We've been in contact with the architect as well. We got their the plans or their submittal to switch from the electrical mechanical system to the gas propane system and see what the payback is. Jaime is looking at that. Actually, Jaime even got his wife looking at, she's in the business as well. We get her for free. And
If
so
she's
we're-
watching this, that might come to an end.
I will send lovely Christmas presents. And we're going through all of those things. And we want to be sure that we get you the best value for your bucks. But we also want to be aware of what I call cost versus value. Okay, some things are cheaper to begin with, but they don't last as long. And it's a longer payback for them, but the economic footprint of it is better. Some things are just better, and you want them, and you don't want this. This is a big part of the county, so you don't want court that looks like a strip mall. So you're gonna do some fine finishes, some fine touches as you can where they are, and they're doing that. And so those are things that we have to discuss, and we'll discuss. You discuss with the architect, discuss with the contractor, whether the value that you get from that high-end item is worth the money, like the value that you get from the patterns and the brick that we talked about outside, which are really nice. Is it worth the value? So things like that. So
Can I ask?
yes, sir.
PGAL is a very reputable
Yes, they are.
architectural firm.
Yes, sir.
Okay, and you said that they are working with you,
Yes, I talked to Michael Lloyd
right?
yesterday.
And in this whole, when my wife second guesses me, I kind of step back a little bit, but
Yes,
I
sir.
understand after a number of years of marriage, and I just want to make sure that PGAL is working with you and answering your questions.
Yes.
And I can understand a company like that, how they might be somewhat sensitive of, why do we need somebody to review our work? But and I want to speak for the entire court, but I think for every one of us that are here this morning, this is as big a project as we're probably going to see, at least financially, in our political careers. So even if, there's a number of years of election, but we got to get this right. And because I can confess that I'm not skilled in this area to a large degree, we just felt like the reasoning we said up front, we felt like it was important to get another opinion, and that's why we're using your company
Yes.
to give us that opinion. But one of the things that I appreciated in kind of your opening dialogue there was that you're looking at some things that can be better, possibly,
Yes.
but you're also looking at some things that have been presented by our architectural firm and our engineering firm that are really good.
Yes.
So I'd like you to make sure that your report points that out to us, that we're reminded that when we selected PGAL, that we did a good job there, and that process has continued. So I guess we're looking for the good, the bad, and the ugly, but so, if there's praise due, we'd like to hear about that.
Yes.
If there's improvement due, we'd like to hear about that also.
Yes, sir.
And I really appreciate this second item, the cost versus value, because sometimes the initial cost we know is more, but when we go long-term, it pays for itself.
Yes.
And you also even made the comment, some things you just want. I know when my wife and I built a home, I'm like, no. And she goes, but I want that. So we now have it.
Because you're a smart man.
That's right. But in saying that, I just want to make sure that we're a smart court
Yes.
as we make this decision. And I think, I don't want to speak specifically for each of you, but I do believe this new courthouse, Justice Center, Business Center is going to be one of the biggest things that we tackle
Yes.
in a very long time. And I kind of hope it is, but, okay.
You in your selection process, you picked a good architect, you picked a very good architect, you picked a good contractor. All right. We're not here to play gotcha. And I spoke with Michael Lloyd today, and he said, yesterday, he says, just want to be treated fairly, Ron. I said, well, that's what we do. It's not our job to belittle them.
Right.
If we find, and for example, there are things that just another set of, because he said another set of eyes is good. Another set of eyes will find things, and it's cheaper to find it now.
Amen.
Even if it's a 4-inch pipe that's called is 4-inch, and it should be 3-inch, but they've ordered the 4-inch pipe, and then you have to send it back, and then you got to order 3-inch pipe, and there's time constraints,
Right.
things of that nature. Another set of eyes is always good. Another viewpoint. We've been around the business for a while. I've been around the business for a while, and I've seen a lot of things in different parts of the country. So I can say, hey, maybe did you think about doing this? And with Vanner, because I just came back from a meeting with our region and people from San Antonio and North Dallas and Dallas and Louisiana, and we talk about projects. We talk about our shared experiences, and they say things that I hadn't thought about. So we're going to do that. But we are working in conjunction with the architect.
Good.
So what I want to be sure that we discuss, because I don't want to take up too much of your time this morning, because I know you guys are very busy and it is almost Thanksgiving. Some things need to be marinating right now. What we want to know is, we're doing our review, but we want to know what your timeline is. I know you want to get started by the beginning of the year. Is that correct?
No.
No? Okay then. See,
I want to get started by the end of the year.
by the end of the year.
Right.
Yes.
And,
Okay, then.
and Ron, I don't care if it's one guy out there with the shovel that digs it and throws it over the shoulder, but as long as he does that before midnight on New Year's Eve,
Okay.
then, and I'm speaking for me, I'm not speaking for the entire court, but
Yes, sir.
that, I don't want to rush this, but we have been talking about this and even other courts before us have been talking about it for a very long time. And it's time that we, as they say, cut bait or fish.
So, how does this have to be presented? Because you guys are under negotiation with Colliers right now, correct? Because their contract has to be awarded before they can
Right.
put the first shovel in the ground.
Okay, so auditors, we have selected them as our contractor. In your opinion, where are we at on that? Have we not given them a,
We haven't signed a contract as of yet. They
Okay.
just, they sent a copy to Michael of the AI contract. Yeah, the AIA. And sent us the same copy, and Michael look it over. And I haven't heard anything back from him on that. But once, we'll hear from him, and then we'll send it on to John C. to look at before it's presented to the court for signature.
so we all admit we're in the holiday season. It
Yes.
makes it difficult, okay, because of vacations and holidays and all that kind of thing. From your perspective, when do you think you would be in a position to say, our initial review, because there's a limit of what you guys are gonna do
Yes.
in regards to your contract. So, based on that limitation, Ron, when do you think y'all would be ready to present your findings or recommendations?
Well, our initial review, what we want to do is, we're going through our initial review right now. What we
Okay.
would like to do is meet with the architect and meet with the contractor to
Okay.
see if we can identify things that we can modify.
And is that something you can do
Yes,
independently
sir.
aside from the court?
Yes, sir. We
Okay.
don't need you, we don't necessarily need you for that, but we don't want to exclude you or your building committee, because I know you have a building committee that's doing that. We can do it on ourselves between Vanner, PGAL, and Collier,
Okay,
but we wanted to afford you the opportunity, or someone from your side of the house, the opportunity to participate.
Commissioner Cox, if they had a meeting where it was the three of the outside firms working this, since you're one of the leads on the building committee, would you like to be a part of that discussion, or do you think it would be better suited for the three of them to visit and then to update you guys, or what would be your recommendation?
Yes, I'd like to be involved in that.
Okay.
If,
I don't know that we need the whole building committee,
Okay.
but I would think that we would need at least you and
Liaisons.
Commissioner Mallett.
I think that'd be,
And if either of them can't go, I would like to be involved in that.
Okay.
maybe it's,
I volunteer if either of
is
them
it,
can't.
is it a situation where the court maybe,
I think it's gonna be really important for our liaisons to be involved
That's right.
so that, all eyes, we're
Transparent.
transparent and we have representation in our meetings.
Okay.
So I don't think he has an objection
No,
to
absolutely.
being there.
No,
And I don't think Commissioner Mallett would have an objection since they are the two liaisons. But, you're doing a peer review, right, of
Yes,
the
ma'am.
documents, and then you'll go back and work that out with the contractor and the architect and the liaisons, if they're available to be there. But you all don't help with negotiations,
We can help with negotiation.
okay?
And I'm not trying to force our services on anybody. We can do it from cradle to grave, as they say.
Just, it was my understanding that when we had the meeting the last time, when you all approved this company here, that they agreed to do the negotiation.
That's what I was
So it was my
thinking.
understanding that when you approved it, you didn't approve to enter into an actual contract with Collier, you agreed to enter into negotiation.
That's right.
And based
Correct.
off of their review, they were gonna help negotiate with
Mm-hmm.
Collier before entering into the contract.
Correct. And we're more, I mean, those services we provide in this area, we're more than happy to do that. We don't want to step on anybody's toes, but what we feel is that if we meet with PGAL, we meet with Collier, we identify, let's say, discrepancies. And we be sure that you get your value for those discrepancies. If you've got a wall that's listed as being 15 feet and it only needs to be 5 feet, there's a 10-foot wall worth of cost that needs to come out of there.
But this morning, we have to be a little bit careful of what we approve
Yes, sir.
and take action on, because our agenda says discuss and review services provided by your company.
Yes, sir.
But I guess, Commissioner Cox, my recommendation would be that we let the three contracting companies come together with yourself and Commissioner Mallett be involved in that, and as soon as appropriate and necessary, then you let the court know or let Cherie know, and we can call a information meeting or an update meeting or however. But again, this time of the year, I don't want us to get stuck waiting on vacations
Right.
and all of that kind of stuff. I'd like to see this keep
No,
moving.
no, we're moving.
And I don't want Jaime to have to go, man, it's been 3 weeks, I need to reread this all again, so.
But
No,
once again, back to, so I can make sure I'm understanding what you're saying and what we discussed previously, because what part of it was the help we needed with the negotiation
Yes, ma'am.
with the contractor.
Uh-huh.
So, to me, that's very important, you know. I don't know if we come back together once you all do that, or what am I hearing?
We'd
you
have to
say?
come back together as a court to approve the final contract.
Yes.
But I think once the three contracting companies and our two commissioners are kind of in agreement, then we'd be in a position to have
that's-
a recommendation and approve it and move forward.
I think that's what I'm hearing you say, that I may have a misunderstanding on. The lowest, according to the rankings, Collier was the one selected. So we began negotiations with Collier. If
Right.
Collier, if we cannot negotiate with them, then we move to the next firm.
Right?
But I hear you saying we come together with the three firms.
No. This firm, our
Okay.
architectural
So the
firm,
architect,
and our
Yes.
construction firm.
Management firm,
the
architect.
peer review group.
Yes, ma'am.
And, okay, all right, because I
So
wanted to
Vanner
be sure
Collier-
that's what I was hearing.
My three firms are Vanner, PGAL, and Collier.
Yes,
Collier's in there,
yes,
in that three.
okay. I just want to make sure I wasn't hearing him say the three people who were in the
No,
rankings.
No.
And
All right,
So
All right.
one of the things that I'm thinking about, and it's just one example, but it seems to be a large example, is the issue that we're having with how we're gonna heat the building, whether we're gonna go electric or whether we're gonna go a boiler. And I don't know how the court would choose to proceed on, do we need to make that decision, or do we need to let Vayner and the three firms and the two commissioners sit down with and make that decision for the court?
Well,
Or do we rely on, we get their opinion
I think we need that.
and then bring it to the court, and the court can then make the decision?
That's what we need the information on,
That's right.
how to make the decision.
Okay.
Way
and
I
that's the,
feel.
that's the cost
That's
versus value
Yes.
discussion.
Because if, like you say, if it makes sense now to do it that way, then we look at going that route. And then in turn, now Commissioner Cox, then in turn, we then negotiate? Or we come in with knowing that we've negotiated that price of you've made that suggestion and this is what the price would be and you bring us the information?
What they can submit is what we generally call an alternate. Okay, so if they decide, because you have an electrical price currently, if you decide to go with gas and gas boilers, then the upcharge or the downcharge will be X amount of dollars, and they'll give you what that X amount of dollars is, and that will be included in your contract price.
Okay,
So you will have agreed on that. It's like, it's like a laundry list, and you say, I want that, I don't want that, I want that, I don't want that,
Okay.
and here's the price.
and not only that, there was also discussion about hard surfaces or carpet.
Yes, ma'am.
It's those things that, to me, at the last meeting, I felt like we hadn't made a decision. We just kind of left it out there.
Well, we will review with the architect, and I understand, I work with a lot of maintenance people, and I understand, people who have to clean the carpets don't really care for carpets. A good hard floor, but then there's the toss-up between going with a luxurious carpet or going with concrete. All right, because concrete is just kind of ugly, it's not pretty, but of course, he would probably really like terrazzo, but you can't afford terrazzo. So that's what you have to decide is what you want. The carpet is better for sound, absorbing the sound. And we'll just make a recommendation. You can decide, and they can give you linear foot costs on switching from one product to the next. If you go to carpet instead, it's an upcharge of $5. If you go to vinyl tile instead, it's a downcharge of $3 a square foot. And those things will be just settled. You've got what we don't want to work with, and you generally have a contingency amount in your contracts. We don't want to touch that. Oh, I'm sorry. We only want to touch that if it's something that you decided that you want that's extra. Okay, but there is a little money there because things go up and things go down. There's a little money that we want to touch as little as possible because the county has other needs. We put that someplace else. But there is money there for those if you decide somewhere down the line that you want to go with carpet everywhere instead of, you won't, but if you go carpet everywhere instead of tile.
Do you present things like, okay, if there is a sound issue, which is what I recently heard,
Yes, ma'am.
are there other things like on the wall that makes a difference?
You can put
Yeah.
the type of furniture that you put in the room.
There you
makes a
go.
difference.
Even wooden benches versus these chairs that might absorb sound.
Exactly. So there's always ways to dance around it, and there's always little wiggle room inside the projects, and there are always things that we can change. And like I said, there's always a little money over here in the kitty just for things, but we want to identify as many of them as possible. And if you decide that you want, we make recommendations. We don't tell you what to do. We say, hey, if you do this, this will happen, and these are the upsides of going with carpet.
Right.
These are the downsides of going with carpet. And from a visual standpoint, this is what it's going to look like. And you want something that's nice looking, but you also want functional. So you may go carpet in part and then tile in the other part where all the people sit with their dirty feet. But those are decisions that you guys will make.
At the end of the day, would your firm be able to make a recommendation as to how long you think this facility would be functional?
Yes. Yes, we need
Because the courthouse we're working out of now is 125 years old. I don't know.
the new building.
No, the building we currently work out of is 125 years old.
Uh-huh.
I don't know that this new building would go 125 years the way things are built and modified and changed, but, I'd like to go into this project knowing, hey, you've got at least 50-year building, or
Yes.
at least, you know, you're gonna be redoing this in 10 years. If that's the
And that-
case, we need some,
Right, and we'll look at that.
Longevity.
The longevity issues of the building components.
Okay.
We'll look at that, because you do want,
and that's not a guarantee, but I'd like to have an idea. I think it's
Yes.
important for us.
yes, and to build it in ways that will create longevity and, for example, even though you don't like you don't like carpet tiles. Carpet tiles, you just wrap it off, drop a new one in there.
Yeah.
And then, well, you know, and sometimes they wear, so you can't necessarily match it completely, but it's easier to repair. And even if you want to do all of them, it's easier to repair all of them, just drop them in. So we will,
Okay.
and those are things that you want, the hardwoods for the walls, but also how they're built or how they're designed, so that you don't have a high traffic area with some soft materials that are going to get scarred
Right.
and bumped up. So
Okay.
those are all things that to take into consideration. Those are things that we consider.
So one of the things that, and I'm just using this as an example of what we're talking about right now, and you mentioned, we're mentioning floor covering, and you, I think, directed your attention to our maintenance director over there. So one of the things I think, at least in my mind, and I'm taking liberty to speak to some extent for the building committee, but it's created part of the struggle or part of the challenges with this project, is that terrazzo tile may be the direction to go, and it may be what we actually want, but we have a $192,000 landscape package.
Yeah.
So I guess my question is, in your assessment, are you going to point those types of things out? If you prefer to have a facility that's gonna last 125 years, you might consider terrazzo tile, but you may wanna scale back on your landscape package that right now is priced, I think, off the top of my head, at $192,000. Will those be the types of recommendations that you make, or suggestions, or
Yes.
things in your report
Yes.
that you might bring to our attention to make
So,
decisions?
Jaime, you want to speak on this, or?
Yeah, it's, to start with, the design is a project well designed. I've seen that the roof, for example, it's a very new system. All roof right now, they typically 20 years warranty, but I'll bet you this is at least 50 years. I mean, and it's very easy to patch if you need to. Typical buildings like this, at least 50 years, they're designed for that longevity. That's architects nowadays. You can see the quality of the elements structural wise. It's concrete, steel, sheetrock, and it's well designed. Changes, you can have hundreds and hundreds of changes, and you will never end. You can replace these, replace that. One of the suggestions, in that, one of the things that I want to sit down with the architect and the general contractor is the builder knows where he can find the best value for the money. He will recommend you. For example, I want him to explain, you have a foundation system which is void, a slab of voids, these wooden blocks that they tend to disappear with time, so allows the soil to expand and contract. What if there's a massive earthwork that needs to be done in that site? So if we're gonna, maybe it's cheaper to bring new soil or to check that soil and to fill and to build a pad and don't put those voids and just slab on the building pad. Those are the things that there are a lot of options.
Okay.
But we need to start talking, discussing with the architect. We're not designers, we don't want to tell the architect what to do. We want to engage with them, and we want them to listen to us and say, yeah, that might work, or no, that won't work.
Well, I fully understand what you're saying, and the scenario that you just described probably would be a lot less expensive than the current slab that's proposed in the contract, is that right? Or in the?
It might be. I'm just saying ideas, stuff that I've seen, but maybe the soil that you have there is not good enough, so you're gonna have to import, and then it's gonna be more expensive.
So how do we mitigate that, or based on your recommendation, how would you mitigate that if in fact that's an item that might be identified in your report? How would we go back, since we've already bid this characteristic in the process, and we want to make that change? Is that something that we do in the negotiation with the contractor,
Yes.
or do we have to rebid
No.
the whole thing?
You've picked the apparent low bidder apart. You picked the apparent best bidder. Now you're negotiating, and you should negotiate anything inside that contract. You can negotiate anything, because the rule of thumb is that, or the thought is that everybody bid on the exact same thing,
Right.
and they gave you the best price on the thing that you asked for.
Right.
So now you can change anything inside it that you want, because you have the person that gave you the best price.
We call it volume engineering.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Ms. Corey, isn't there a limitation, put you on the spot, but if you were to go 25% above the price versus 18% below the price, do I have that right, or is that reversed?
I don't remember the percentages, but I know if it comes in too high, over the contract price, it needs to be renegotiated.
Okay,
And then you can, there's all types of things you can do inside. And then in most contracts, it says that you have the right to revoke any irregularities that you see fit, or take any irregularities that you see fit. It's kind of open-ended.
and we have a certain amount allocated that we could spend, even though we know this is the budgeted amount, but that amount we have allocated still fits within that 25% increase.
We have allocated 12 million.
Right. I mean, we have 12 million in the event we needed to spend that much. I didn't want to say that out loud, but,
I was thinking the same
oh, but we've said it before.
It is in the.
No, but I mean, if what I'm getting at is, if push came to shove and we did want to rise up, we did want this, we did want that, we still have, as a court, have the latitude to go up to what we're willing to spend, and what we're willing to spend is still within the tolerances of the contracts that have been bid.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
So the issue is, if you find these things that you would like to change inside, and for changes for costs, and you can negotiate those, and before you sign the contract, those will be negotiated. It's cheaper before you sign the contract. You can even do it after the contract is signed, but it's just, you don't get the value for your bucks. They're not as excited about going down in price after you sign the contract.
And that's understandable. Understandable.
But with the reputation of this GC, I'm willing to bet that they are willing to help us look at value engineering items that will keep or lower your prices in order for you to pay for other fanciers.
Yeah.
You've got a contractor that's been doing this for a while, and you're not their only business. And if they give you a bad product, and word gets out that they're doing bad products, then they lose work, they lose money, and they don't want to do that either.
Well, and they're just in the next county, they're across the river, so there are neighbors to a large degree.
So, following up on what the judge said in his opening statement, and I agree with it. I mean, the PGAL was hired for a reason, and certainly, I don't want to take away from their professional product that we've purchased. But at the same time, my hope is that there's some things that your company will identify that maybe we're presented with some options rather than what the architect has proposed. Not taken away from their work, but I mean, to put it bluntly, that's why we hired y'all.
Yes, sir. And that's why we're here. That's what we do. And we'll find them, and we will offer them, and we'll show you, hey, you might want to do it this way instead. You might want this material instead. Okay. And you might not want that to. Do you have the crew for that? For all this landscaping that's going on?
No.
Okay.
So, I got one guy, me and one guy takes care of 7 buildings now.
So it might be in the county's best interest to have outdoor elements that are easily maintained. As
Yes.
opposed to, okay.
My-
And that's,
My question, and I'm not trying to get into.
Would you identify yourself?
I'm Al Peeler, I'm the building maintenance manager, director, engineer, whatever you wanna call it. I'm not saying that Michael has done a bad job. What I am saying is, he did not listen to the people that take care of these buildings
Right.
that have to do it all the time.
right.
If we could justify, and I've heard several things about payback. The problem with payback is you're limiting one thing like the boiler to pay you back in 56 years. Tell me what that payback on the sprinkler system is, or the landscape.
Right. I understand exactly what you're saying, and we do, and we generally do that because they want to, it's either someone wants to sell you a system. So they're telling you that the electrical system has a faster payback than the boiler system, and the boiler guys are saying, yeah, but the overall efficacy and use of our product is much better than electrical, and our heat is better, and 'cause gas, in my opinion, gas heat's usually better. But that's just me.
My thing is, we don't have a county facility that has an irrigation system
Okay.
right now. Okay? The irrigation system requires my crew to get other statuses
Right.
legally by the state law that we have to take care of the irrigation system. We have to be under a certificate,
Or we pay for the service?
or we pay for the service.
Right.
That's an additional cost. I'm not so worried about his fine finishes and all that, because we can talk about vinyl flooring versus terrazzo. There's a middle ground.
There is.
And I know this, and everybody else knows this. Why wasn't the middle ground? You look around now, these commissioners are our leadership. They're in a paneling courtroom. You go there, they hold court in a 125-year-old courthouse. That, quite frankly, right now has got paint peeling off of it. So, in my opinion, and it's only my professional opinion, that we didn't need the highest standards, but we don't need the lowest standards either. There's gotta be ground in there that is easy on maintenance, that will not cost the county in the long run after we have to start training people or hiring extra facility services. We're gonna have to hire more employees. Everybody's known that, and they've heard me screaming about that. But it's just gotta be the best bang for the buck, not how pretty it is. I get it, I wanna drive Miss Walker's Mercedes, but I drive a Toyota
Well,
Sienna.
thanks, Al.
I didn't mean it like that, I meant, but that's how it is.
I understand.
You just gotta do it.
He's just talking.
Sometimes you need a really
I'm in love with that
good,
car,
you need a
sorry.
really good Chevy.
Yeah, sometimes.
you need a really good Chevy.
And I'm not trying to cheapen up Grimes County, but we're not Houston.
Right.
We're rural. And our folks don't need all that fancy stuff.
Can I, can I
they
add
won't.
something to what he's saying?
Yes, ma'am.
PGAL did a building in the city of Navasota. I don't know how many years they've been there now, but it's been 6 or so years. And it seems to be holding quite well on some things. But one of the things that we heard from constituents was the overkill on trees and landscaping. We watched that stuff die shortly after it was put in. I mean, I kid you not, it was 100 trees looked like.
Do that.
And then you've got growth. When it starts growing and the trees start melding together, then you've got to have people to come in and take out trees.
Right.
So to me, a lot of the complaints that we heard from citizens, including myself, was the overkill
Right.
on things like that. I'd rather see the value in the building than in the landscaping, because like you said, it takes mulch every year. It takes somebody coming in pruning it every year. It takes time to mow around those things.
It does.
So I think the value should be a lot of it more in the building than in all of this landscaping. So we want to look for places that we can take, if we have to take it, and move it over here and get a better value. My other thing was, you asked about the timeline. We can, this is my opinion, this has been my, I guess, request. Whatever timeline we need for you to negotiate that contract and to get things in order so that we can move forward, we can be available
Okay.
as a court. I just believe that. Because although the judge is saying he wants a shovel in the ground by the end of December, we want it done right.
So,
And so, but we're willing to come together and meet as many times as you need us to meet, and we can legally meet that announcement.
We just typically need 72 hours.
Yes.
outstanding. And if we, so I know you've got a meeting scheduled for the 11th of December, and we were talking, the other commissioner and I were talking about the fact that you got one scheduled for Christmas, which I'm pretty sure you're not gonna do it.
It's gonna happen on Thursday, the day after.
Day after Christmas. Okay, so 11th and 20th.
Sir, that's an agenda item?
Isn't it?
That's an agenda item for next week?
Okay, we're gonna decide next week, and we're gonna do it after. I saw it somewhere.
Yeah, I'll look on the commission board and find out when the meeting is. I know the one's 11th. And what our plan is, to try to meet next week with the architect and the contractors. And when we do that, we will send the appropriate commissioners notifications of those meetings. And we will have them wherever it is convenient for you guys.
Okay.
Yeah, so one of the things, following up on Commissioner Walker's comments, that there is a building in Grimes County that PGAL did do the architect work on, and that's the City Hall in Navasota. And I would,
Navasota City Hall.
if you have time, swing by there. It's a very, very nice building.
We will.
We'll look at the examples in there, and this is one of the thought processes in my mind is I'm not necessarily opposed to how the building is designed with regard to, and I'm talking about the county building. We need a functional building. We don't need cherry wood, in my opinion, for example,
And bamboo
in our
wood.
building, when oak will suffice.
Okay.
And he said bamboo.
It's renewable.
It's renewable.
resource.
It is.
You get a green sticker on the building.
But it's those types of things that the building committee was privy to how what the floor plan was gonna look like. And some of the aesthetics that were going to be in the building, such as the carpet, and the tile. But I'm just gonna throw it out there, we were way rushed at the very end. And all of the things that we're talking about today that you're coming in to review, 90% of them, the building committee never even had the option to make a decision. And those are the challenges that we have if we're, and I certainly appreciate the judge's optimism and on his schedule. I don't know if we'll be able to do that or not, because
One shovel of dirt, Commissioner.
I got it.
You're gonna give him a shovel and some dirt.
I'll take it with me. And I got you.
You put up temporary construction and fencing around the site. And a sign.
Mow the field again, I don't care.
yeah, but those are the things that I think we still, as a court and as a county, need to sit down and talk about. We have a vision of having a new facility, and it's certainly a grand vision, and the judge is probably right, at least probably from my political standpoint. It will be one of the biggest, if not the biggest, political decisions that's made. And I'm with him. I want to make sure that we get it right, and I'm not trying to downgrade PGAL, bash whatever they've done, because I appreciate the work that we've paid for. But at the same time, I think there's some things in those those elements that we need to have decision-making processes on.
If there's a listing, does someone have some notes from former meetings that it'd be okay for us to have? I'd love to have those to see what the decision processes were. Also, one of the things, and not bashing PGAL either, but architects have visions of building, and they're artsy and they're grand, and it's great, and that's why they do such good work, and that's why that we love them. However, people like me will say, why is it Italian tile in that? We don't need that. Why are we doing that? Well, it's beautiful. Yeah, it is, but it's expensive. Let's get man-made and save ourselves $20 a square foot on things like that. And like I said, we love them because that's how they think. But people like us, that's a waste of your
We gotta
money.
pay
Let's
for
do
it.
something else. Let's do something different. I had a young, I've got, and please forgive me, because when you hired me, you didn't know this, I've got a million stories. And I had a young lady that I was doing, who was an architect, was designing an entry to a school for me. It was a small school. And she had these columns and wrought iron, wrought steel across the top. And she had Italian marble. And she had individually made spires on top. And these spires were $40,000 a piece. But I could go online, back in the day, online, and find them and that looked a lot like that one right there, for about $6,000 a piece. And we went to $6,000. She said, well, Ron, that's not my vision. I was like, well, your vision is too expensive, so this is what we're going with. So that's what we do, and offer you alternatives. And because sometimes you're going to want the most expensive thing. You're going to want it. And that's just what you want, just what you want. And you say, yes, dear.
Yes, dear.
Yes, dear. And keep it moving. So, but we'll offer you that. And if someone can send us notes, we can go over that. We'll get with PGAL. I'll speak with Michael, and I'll try to get with a Collier guy. I've got his card, and we'll talk about a time that we can all get together and meet. I know they're reviewing the mechanical system upgrade cost. I know it's going to be upgrade. So to review that.
Sheree, do you know if this court's available on the 18th of December? We have a regular commissioners court scheduled on the 11th.
Yes, sir.
The next Wednesday is the 18th, and I don't know if you would be in a position to have some recommendations,
By the 18th, we'll have recommendations by the 18th.
because if that was the case, if we had recommendations, and Commissioner, throw your knowledge in here, if we had the recommendations on the 18th, or even, I don't know, is it available on the 16th?
It's available on the 18th, 16th.
The reason, what I'm getting at is if we could get your recommendations and make some decisions, then we're able to bring Collier in here and say, okay, let's rock and roll.
Yes, sir.
I don't know if that's a proper legal term, but,
I think it is.
or you know what I mean.
It's Latin.
T had her hand up.
Yes, ma'am, Toledo.
Since y'all are discussing time frame, just to remind the court that in our bids, there's a 90-day period for their bids, like
Right.
Collier or whoever can pull back after that. So if we get to the point to where we're going to approach that, might need a request in writing for them to extend that with Collier.
Well, I think that's an important reminder, but we took these in October 3 or 4. When did we get
The
them?
bids came in October 10th.
October 10, so we have to November 10, December 10, January 10.
Right, so I'm just
So,
letting you
yeah.
know that.
So
I
the
know
clock's
the court's
ticking.
not
Right.
wanting to rush, but we are under a certain time.
Do you have your AIA already from them?
They sent one for review for Michael Lloyd.
That stops the 90 day.
Okay.
It's not the legal.
We haven't entered into it though.
Yeah, right. You have to enter into that. That isn't, the AIA contract isn't, it's a contract saying that you're entering in with it, but it is not, what they're reviewing isn't, it isn't the construction contract.
Okay.
Correct me if I'm wrong.
You're correct.
So we're okay time-wise?
Once we enter into
you-
that.
Yeah,
Once we enter into this, which we have not yet, but
But we should, there's no reason we probably can't.
Need to send it
It's in
to
review
Johnson.
with,
Yeah.
yeah, I think it's in review with John C. and Michael
Okay.
Lloyd.
Corey can build a fire under.
No, we haven't received
Y'all
it.
haven't received it?
Uh-huh.
So then it's with Michael Lloyd.
It's gonna be a pretty standard AIA. It's the same AIA that we used for, and there are only gonna be certain changes that John does to wording. It's the same one that we used for our engineer on the courthouse. It's the same one that we entered with our contractors for the courthouse. AIA is a standard contract throughout the system.
All right.
Sorry if I'm talking too much.
Mary?
One thing that I would suggest is when you're comparing electrical versus gas,
Yes, ma'am?
is that, okay, for the county, we have to use Entergy.
Okay.
And if you would contact them or you can get copies of our bills to see what we're charged per kilowatt. And then our propane, Al has negotiated a contract with our propane provider where we get, for all county facilities, we get the propane for $1.05 a gallon. And that's pretty much unheard of.
How long is that contract?
It's a yearly contract.
Okay. So they can't, I mean, but they can stick you next year for another
They
20 years?
can, but.
But we'll go to the competition if he
It
does.
won't happen.
Okay. All right, that's
I
good
heard
for
you
you.
too much.
Good. Good.
So I just wanted to throw that out there because Houston has a better rate on electricity than we do.
Okay.
And with us not having natural gas available, we
Use
do
propane.
have to use the propane.
That's fine.
So, and we, like they've said, we are a rural county. Most of the people in this county are ranchers. Some are farmers. And so something elaborate is not what we need.
You gotta know who you're designing for, I understand completely. And I understand better from being here, and we like to go where we're working. Hammond's been by the job site to look at the job the other day. We like to do that, we like to know, because you get a feel for things when you go. I know that next time I don't have to wear a suit, I can wear a jacket, and I just had to fight with my wife on it. But, you know, but I'll say that the judge told me I could.
Well, you just wear it, and then when you get in the car, you just take it off and hang it.
I like the way you think, my
That's
friend.
what he does.
I'm gonna make sure the commissioner's wife tunes in. to his Okay, but on the serious side, what about court dates? And are we pushing it too much to do something on the 18th? Because we're available on the 18th. Would you guys be ready for something on the
We'll be ready for
18th?
something on the 18th, and we'll have met, our plan is to have met with the architect and the contractor
Contractor.
and the commissioners
And
and the building team.
I'm gonna take the liberty of saying that if Mr. Peeler was available, he could ride with Mr. Cox to the meeting, or y'all could have it here, and they wouldn't even have to ride together.
That'd be fine, and I'd also like to,
Or Commissioner Walker could drive you in her Mercedes, I don't
if
know.
one of, if myself, yeah, maybe we can just borrow the Mercedes.
Whatever.
She said I could drive it.
You got it out.
Yeah, there went my friendship with the person.
If the court has no objection, if myself or Mr. Mallett couldn't attend one of the meetings, would the court have any objection to Mr. Dobianski?
Not at all.
Or, what I'm
I don't
saying,
have
he
one.
expressed.
Always like 2 ears to hear. He may hear what you didn't hear and,
I agree.
All right.
All right, so we know what our marching orders are, we know what we're going to do, we're going to provide the review, we're going to show the good things and not necessarily as good things, we're going to offer you opportunities for value.
Right.
We're going to really look at the irrigation system outside to see if we can do something about that. We're looking at the gas, and we're gonna make sure that we have, that the people reviewing the gas quotes have the right information, the energy number and the propane number at $1.05 per gallon. And we're looking to, make a recommendation to you by the 18th of December, but we'll have a meeting before that as well.
I need to ask the question. I have a conflict in my scheduling. So what did y'all, did I hear somebody say something about the 16th?
I just said the 16th is Monday. I don't know if that was available or not.
And if, would it matter if it's the 18th or 16th?
18, just in case it's.
We have that whole weekend to work on it if we need to do something special. But we will make ourselves available as is necessary.
Are you booked all day that day?
No, I just had a hard-to-get appointment,
On which date is that?
the 18th.
So could you meet in the afternoon?
If it's not, yeah, I could do it in the
What
afternoon.
would be comfortable for you time-wise?
1,
One?
probably.
Oh, let's set it for 1 then. If you're, are you good with that?
That's good, 1 or 1:30. I
Let's
have
do
two
1:30.
back-to-back.
Do I hear 2? 2, do I hear 2? 1:30.
1:30.
Oh,
Sounds great.
He is going, but he would not. Let me, just please hold while I process this request. Hold on.
The 18th at noon is the
Okay,
ag
fine.
extension
Take it.
Oh.
quarterly elected
Yeah,
official
yeah.
lunch. I assumed y'all were
Let's
invited.
make, yeah, and
It
I
should be
accept,
done
let's
by-
It's
make,
probably done by 1.
Yeah.
okay.
Well, do 2.
11:45.
11:45 was registration. Lunch is at
Let's make the
noon.
meeting at 2.
2 to
Do we hear the 19th?
Do I hear
December
2:30?
No.
19th.
18th at 2 p.m.
2 p.m.
Okay.
Sounds great.
Jaime, after what you've heard today, are you still in?
I love it.
Good.
All right, that's all I
Beautiful
have.
building.
Do you
Are there
guys
any
have
other, are there any other questions for Ron or for Jaime?
Okay, just to be sure, we've
ma'am.
got the time frames. You're in the process of, document review
Yes, ma'am.
due date. Okay, you're meeting with the building committee prior to the 18th?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. You're meeting with the Collier and P-Gal prior to the 18th?
Yes, ma'am. We're gonna do all that. We're gonna try to do all that together.
Okay, so when we come on the 18th, we are going to be discussing your recommendations
Yes, ma'am.
and where we are. So then you have Collier's contract down here. That's a different date than the 18th, right?
Right, yes. Because it'd be too soon to bring Collier in, or they could come in and listen, but to make a
They'll probably
fun.
come in to listen since they're gonna meet with
Yeah.
them.
Yes.
Okay.
And hopefully by then, they will, if they're the people I think they are, they will have numbers for what we're talking about.
Okay.
Okay, so numbers. So then you said, oh, this your meeting. Establish your meeting, the next meeting date we
We've already
established.
done it.
Huh?
We've already done that.
Okay, we've done that. We just-
And the only other one I have to establish is the one with the advising commissioners and the contractors and the architect.
Okay,
And we'll get on the phone and start doing that today.
okay.
We good?
We good?
There are no other questions, no other comments. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Is there one?
I have a quick comment.
Mary?
As far as who made decisions on, with the building committee,
Yes, ma'am.
on the different things, we said we liked this or we didn't like that, but a lot of things just were thrown out and we weren't told who made that decision.
Just want to, what I want, and that happens. I want to get your feel. I want to get the feel for what you were trying to do, what you were looking for. For example, if the field in the document said we want carpet everywhere, then I'm sure it didn't say that, but I'm just saying that.
Yeah.
I'm saying that.
Personally-
Yes, ma'am.
Personally, I think we need carpet in at least the front part of the courtrooms and maybe in the judge's office and the attorney's offices and crime victims. Other than that,
And jury rooms.
and jury rooms. Other than that,
No, not jury. They eat in there.
Yes.
Well, okay, but you need to design sound absorption in the jury room because you don't want the discussion inside a jury room carrying outside the wall. So whatever is required.
Okay.
All right,
So, just
Some
to add,
insulation,
sir?
some insulation and some
That's
on the wall.
I'm talking wall insulation and wall.
when y'all are reviewing, just keep in mind, and they're in the back of your mind, functionality
Yeah.
and tractors. Because
Tractors.
that,
Okay.
and I'm serious about that because that's the constituency that's gonna be judging, what we do.
Okay,
I mean,
that's-
we live in a primarily rural community around here. And I think he touched on it.
We had a horse and rider walking down Main Street this morning, so seriously.
We have what?
A horse and rider going down Main Street this morning. I got a picture.
Sounds like a fun time.
A puppy in a pickup, so.
Put me in a pickup.
All right, with that, is there a motion to adjourn?
I move we adjourn.
A second.
There's a motion before the court by Commissioner Dobianski on agenda item number 2, seconded by Commissioner Walker. Is there further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Let the record show that Commissioner Mallett was